Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first Pitchmasters workshop of 2024. My name is Lisa Friedlander. I'm the CRO over here at Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. We are super excited to be here today. Next is partnering with Deloitte and SeedSpot on our Next Raise platform, and we offer this monthly pitch prep workshop called Pitchmasters so that entrepreneurs can come and have a safe space to practice their investor pitch, get really good solid feedback, and be as investor ready as possible. Joining me today, I'm really excited and grateful to introduce two of our partners, Krista Smith of Deloitte and Miranda Williamson at SeedSpot. Krista, you want to say a few words about yourself and Deloitte?
Sure. So I'm Krista Smith. I'm a managing director with Deloitte, focused on our audit practice, but I also lead our early stage practice. So we provide audit and tax services to high potential, fast growing companies. We like to say we can take you from startup to IPO.
Fantastic. We really appreciate you and Deloitte and all your partnership, both with Pitchmasters and all of our events at Next Raise. Miranda.
Yes, I'm Miranda Williamson. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at SeedSpot. We work with entrepreneurs and help direct them to different accelerator programs that we have and incubator programs that we have. We mainly work with underrepresented and underserved entrepreneurs, and we mainly work with impact-focused entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. And SeedSpot has been a long-standing partner of Pitchmasters, so really appreciate you being here, Miranda. And welcome, Faraz. I see that you just joined us. Okay, Aditi, the floor is going to be yours. As I mentioned, I am not going to time you since we just have you participating today. So take your time, be thoughtful, and then we'll look to our judges to provide feedback. And then folks in the room, pay attention to Aditi's presentation. We'd love to have your feedback as well. So with that, Aditi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for the opportunity and everyone for being here today and helping me out. Aditi Charnevi, I'm a co-founder of Fan Equity. It's a company that we incubated in MIT Media Lab. We believe in the democratization of the sports industry and providing an opportunity to all the fans and the community to invest, changing the game from the billionaires. So with that, let me share my screen. I think you all can see my screen, yeah? Okay. So as I was talking about Fan Equity briefly, we are trying to be the leading marketplace to monetize sports asset. Our focus is sports infrastructure. So we are creating a pioneering asset class of fractional ownership in stadiums. While I mentioned stadiums, we also do ballparks and arenas. It is a very bold idea, and I think that's one of the things that we are looking to change, and we have provisional IP on the platform. When we look at the TAM I'm going to minimize this. Sorry, guys, 1 second. When we look at the TAM, what we did for the TAM, total addressable market, we took a stadium size of 10,000 seats, and we pulled data from World of Stadiums and World Bank. We came up with a segmentation on developed and developing economies, number of fans, number of stadiums. Assuming an average of $20 million for a new build or a renovation for developed economies, and assuming $5 million for developing, we came at a $32 billion that is locked in stadiums as a dead investment today. It's never been monetized before. And if we actually remove those parameters and open it up to ballparks, arenas, and stadiums of any size, we are looking at a $100 billion locked asset. If we, Fan Equity, are able to charge 10% in tokenization, we are looking at about 3.2 billion. And then the increase in the fan average revenue per user, that metric comes from World Bank data, which says that 0.1% of consumer spend globally is in sports. So we are looking at a pretty healthy TAM of about $8 billion. So why stadiums? Now, stadiums, ballparks, and arenas, the economics have been very poor. It's typically invested in by private corporations or government. There's almost always a controversy, as we are all very well familiar with the RFK Stadium controversy going on. And the way the investments have happened traditionally, it's always been locked. You can't really get rid of stadiums because that's where the teams play. And with a team and a stadiums comes in a whole new economy because they're typically built in developing parts of the cities or towns, and then they create a village around it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to fractionalize. So if we look back at who's done it, we have a timeshare example here of St. Regis. So our inspiration comes from timeshare. It also comes from teams such as Atlanta Braves that did an IPO on NASDAQ in August last year, where they took the two ballparks and raised 61 million shares, separated the media company. Another common one in America is the Green Bay Packers. I'm sure many of you have heard of Green Bay Packers, where they came up with a very innovative idea a couple of years back, calling for ownership from the community. But if you Google the term sheet and read it, you'll see there is no real ownership. However, their annual shareholder meeting is still one of the largest and most well-attended meetings even today. When we went down this journey, we wanted to make sure it makes sense for all the parties involved. As we discussed, government is one of them, because many a times you see the government is investing. When the government invests, however, they create bonds and they raise taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes, whether or not you're a sports fan. When the private or team owners invest, they have quite a few different buckets they need to put the money in. Not only do they need to have the latest stadiums, ballparks, and arenas to provide the topmost fan engagement and experience, they also need to invest in the team and the performance. They also need to invest in apps to improve the fan engagement. So there is a lot they need to do with that same bucket of money. And for the fans, we all have been spending money buying tickets, buying merchandise, buying concessions, but we've never really had true ownership. And so we are truly providing a difference here by giving the fans bragging rights, creating an ownership model. And that's why we believe that fan equity brings a win for all parties involved. When we look at the platform, what we have created is a very proprietary legal tech and an AI platform. It is fully SEC compliant. We want to make sure that there's no money laundering happening. I have 3 beautiful kids and I'm not going to prison. So in the first one, in the primary transaction, in my example, we're seeing that it is the team that is the asset owner. And I'm just showing a simple transaction where we're keeping 5%, so $5 in the equation to cover our expenses. And some of it, of course, is a margin. In the secondary transaction, we're creating a marketplace to de-risk the fans actually, and also to lure international investors. What we are saying is one fan is allowed to sell to the other fan and or just a pure investor. So just a community, you don't have to be a fan. Again, we are taking about, in this example, 10% roughly, and we are doing a rev share with the asset owner being the team in my example. Now, this makes it very interesting. It de-risks the fan. It provides continuous operational revenue to the teams, which is very important. And it's very different than any such platform available today for tickets. Today, you guys are probably familiar with Ticketmaster, tickets.com, PSL Source, etc. A, they have no tracking of data, whether you're on the seat or I'm on the seat. And B, they definitely do not share any revenue with the team. So that's what we are changing. And that has definitely been the very exciting feature that's appreciated by the teams that we have been in conversations with. Sorry, I'm trying to move this. Okay, if we look at the platform from another angle, it's a very technical slide, but all we're seeing here is it's fully SEC compliant. We are fully, of course, API friendly, so we can connect to the existing apps, marketplace, whatever you have. We have KYC, accreditation, and all the necessary rules and regulations required to do this. It's fully secure. And essentially what we have done is we have made it 30 times faster for someone to invest once the offering is live on the platform. If today you were to form a syndicate or go the investment fund route, you're looking at 3 to 4 months to be able to close a deal. On our platform, you can do in 48 to 72 hours. What's furthermore interesting is as we get data on a platform for buyers and sellers, as well as for teams, and then we also do a couple of offerings for sponsorships, we're able to collect a vast volume of data to predict buying and selling patterns, demand and supply, and to show you fan preferences. That's a very methodical way of further augmenting fan engagement versus taking guesswork. And for the sponsors, for example, if in a game you have Nike doing a sponsorship and Nike is promoting a shoe or on the app at the same time the game is on, if we pass the transaction through fan equity, we can track how many regular buyers are there, and then we can do targeted ad campaigns and provide that information to Nike. So there is a lower cost of sale as well as conversion, in this case for the sponsor being Nike. So therefore, we believe that the AI engine in the long term provides phenomenal value. I have a quick case study in here. One of the teams that we're working with and have a proposal out to is Major League Cricket. Major League Cricket is finally becoming important in America because cricket is one of the 5 new sports in the Olympics in LA. So in this case, we've created 2 simple packages. It is for Toronto. $16,000 is probably a fairly well-priced offering for an average professional in Toronto. So we typically try to price it around the median income because we're trying to look for retail investors. The package has benefits tailored to the team's requirements, X% equity because it's still being defined. They want to give a seat pass as well as some exclusive fan merchandise. They believe fans love free hats, free bats, whatever. And the second offering we have is an offering which is tailored to high school students as well as college students, even for that matter. What we are saying is 50 games, any 4 stadiums. MLC has 6 stadiums today. It's going to about 8 stadiums in the next 2 years. We're going to try and raise $40 million through this offering, and that's the goal. In this slide, what I'm trying to show is why does it matter to a fan? So Kim is a proud owner of the MLC Legacy Pass. She, in good faith, invested $16,000 upfront. As a result of that, she got a few items in gray. These are all face value, which to the team costs much lower. And then she sold some of them. I just showed a couple of sales she did over the first year. But if you look at a period of 10 years, Kim walks away with more than $6,000. And the way $6,000 is defined is, let's say the equity appreciated or the team is performing better. I really hope to make to the LA Olympics, the team is performing better in 10 years. As well, she sold some experiences. So depending on how many experiences she sells, because she's not present or she wants some money back, she walks away cash flow positive. So all these premium experiences for which she actually paid very little as a part of a package and did not pay a premium, she enjoyed it for free at the end of 10 years. So even though it's a legacy pass, lifetime pass, she can technically sell it and walk away. If I look at it from the MLC side, so if MLC had to raise at 8% interest rate today, they will be paying about $94.1 million over a 30-year period. This is just standard loan economics. If we charge 7% issuance fee on the platform, we will be charging them $3.7 million. Most of our fee is success-based. So if they were not able to raise 40 million, only 10 million, they would be paying 7% of 10 million only to us, about close to $700,000. So they have nothing to lose. These are some of the early adopters and teams you're working with. Everyone in red is where we have an MOU. We are on the cusp of conversion. We've had some very good meetings with Bristol Rover and Al Heli. Both of them are household names in the space of soccer. They have a board meeting this month, and we're waiting to hear from that. If we get one of those 2 teams, we are pretty much gold, or MLC, we're pretty much gold. And then we have some of the other teams listed. As you can see, they're all different sizes in terms of global fans, in terms of raise. So we are not capped at a raise. We are being opportunistic, but tomorrow, once we go closer to Series A, around that time frame, we would probably be very targeted. This is our team. My co-founder is Usman Shuja. He played cricket for the US team and was the fastest bowler for 10 years. So yes, the inspiration also comes from there. So most of the deals we have sourced through our network. We have a pretty good loaded team of advisors. Dr. Bernie Mullen is the founder of the Aspire Group. He's raised $1 billion for fundraising for teams. Ben Shields, he's most famous for his book, The Elusive Fan. Keith Gordon, he's an ex-NBA NFL player. Jim Eash from ex-NCAA, and we've signed up 3 more advisors this week. But again, we're really doing a very targeted advisor search here. Raising $1 million, the idea is to take 2 customers live because there is upfront expense and we want to share the risk with the customer. That's why we're looking for that money. The upfront spend is in creating the LLC and the structure, as well as doing the SEC filings that have to be done to make it a regulated offering. And then we want to build version 2 of the product. We have a pretty good roadmap and a solid understanding of what it takes to go from seed to Series A, and that's what we would like to raise the money for. Any questions?
That's awesome, Aditi. Well, I'm very glad that you were the only one here because you were way over 6 minutes. So it's good. And it's good because this is a very complicated bold initiative and a lot to talk through. I'll save my comments for last. Krista, do you want to kick us off for feedback for Aditi?
Sure, and I think my initial comment, it kind of builds on what you said. There was a lot of information there, and I'm not sure. And part of this is because I never really thought about how it currently works. There were times where I struggled. I don't want to say struggle to follow, but there's a lot of pieces, and so if you have less time, we probably need to think about what pieces can we pull out so that what you're trying to do, it has further clarity.
Thank you. Thank you. So could you recommend 2 pieces to pull out? I do not do the case study, but because I had time, I did the case study.
I think the advisors, like if you have a slide and their names are there, maybe we don't need to comment on them. I think it's just maybe further defining what the problem is and how this solves it. Because it wasn't clear to me who owns it now and why would they want to get rid of ownership, and why is it a net benefit to all parties to have the fans own the stadium.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Krista?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear what Miranda has to say.
So first, I really liked the cleanliness of your slides. I felt like your design choices were very clean. I hate when people get too involved in over designing, and I really liked the cleanliness of the design. I had a hard time understanding what your product was until very close to the end. So in the beginning, I was like, well, who is your customer? Are you selling to the fans? Are you the one engaging with the fans? Excuse me. And that finally became clear at the very end. But that was already a ton of numbers were given to me before you got to that. And I had a hard time following or caring about those numbers as well. For me personally, especially since I'm not a sports fan, I don't understand that world. And I think you made a lot of comments with the assumption that I understood that world. And felt like maybe a story about how this works, maybe your case study put into a story format would have engaged me and would have helped me understand what your product is and who your customer actually is earlier, before I then am fed all of the numbers on why this is a financial benefit. So that would be a big structural change in the way that your slides are presented. Then in regards to the numbers, I don't know which ones are the most impactful, to tell you the truth, but I would choose the most impactful number, the most impactful story that the numbers tell, and focus on that one. Because I got so lost in so many different stories of number stories. So I felt like find the most impactful one, the one you want me to remember, and focus on that one and leading me through that journey. And that will stick with me much, much longer. Okay. I think that's it. That's it for now.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank
Awesome.
you very much for the feedback.
Yeah. So leading into what Miranda and Krista were saying, I think part of the problem, Aditi, is you dove right in. You dove right into the weeds before setting up the big picture for us. And you have to remember, if you presented that at a second investor meeting, right, and when you're supposed to be digging in and they already have the big picture, then maybe that would have worked. But this is supposed to be the trailer to your movie, right? And you went right to the full the full movie, and we were I felt also like very overwhelmed to try to follow what you were saying. I thought while the slides were designed well, I agree with Miranda, a lot of them were very text heavy. The font was super small. You had a couple of diagrams that were crazy. You even noted like on the SEC compliant slide, you're like, this diagram is pretty crazy, but the messages were SEC compliant. Well, just say that then. I don't need to spend time not listening to you, trying to decipher what this diagram is telling me. So for me, I would back out. I would describe a little bit more of the current situation. To Krista's point, X percentage of professional teams and stadiums are owned by. Give us some big pictures, right? And then maybe really lean in on the Atlanta Braves example and tell me a little bit more about that. How successful was it? How much did they raise? How did they do that? Right? What is the interest in either fans, government, or team owners in moving towards the way that the Atlanta Braves have done it, right? What are like to Miranda's point, tell us the story about how this is all working, how it's not working, right? How in certain areas, these new novel ways of democratizing access is a win-win-win. And then maybe go into a few sort of numbers in terms of I like the number saved. It's like we're raising 40 million. It's going to cost the team X as opposed to Y. The fans can make money. Like who can make money, right? The team can make money. The government can make money. That should be one slide. You don't need 5 slides for that in a short sort of introductory pitch, right? Your team and you, like that should be way up front, in my opinion. People have different opinions on where the team and your background should go in a pitch. I am always sooner rather than later, because you can have a brilliant idea, but if you're not the right person and you don't have the right team to execute, it will not matter. So I am always of the mind to bring the team and you and your background closer to the front than the back. A lot of people leave it to the back. I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. The case studies and your current traction, that's where you want, because I'm thinking, God, this is such a big idea. Does she have anybody that's even doing any of this? And you actually do. You actually do. So spend a little bit more time on that in the upfront one. And then what was my last one? And then the platform itself. So if you've got 4 minutes, you've got 5 minutes, right? So it's the current state of play and how it's not working. How is it not working for government? How is it not working for teams? How fans get nothing out of it. That's one slide, right? Then the second slide is things are changing. Things are changing globally. In fact, the Atlanta Braves, give us a global example and then give us the Atlanta Braves. How did they do it? How did they change it? It's moving in that direction. We're going to take that one step further. Next slide, all about fan equity. How are you going to change it? Then you can show a couple of different before, if it used to work this way, now it's working this way. Here's our current traction. We're raising $1 million. And your team, sorry, and done. That's like for me, that's like a good solid trailer to your movie. Then when you get interested investor and you're sitting down, then you can go through some of these more complicated slides and scenarios of how it might work. Does that make sense?
No, I really appreciate that. So yes.
And Krista and Miranda chime in if you got, and everybody chime in,
Please,
we have a
everybody.
small group today.
Yeah.
So chime in if you disagree or agree or anything.
Yeah, no, I think the way, Lisa, you said it about the trailer versus the movie. There was a lot of information, and because I'm not familiar with how it works, or understanding the problem, I felt overwhelmed. There was a lot of information, and you're trying to read to figure out the bigger picture.
Right. I mean, Aditi, I already knew what this was from meeting you before, and I still struggled. So imagine somebody like Krista, like we're saying, you're just sitting down and you're hearing this for 4 minutes and you're just, all we want is the big picture and why we should care. And then the next meeting, the next time is when you will then go into the unit economics and how you make money and how, you can highlight that, you can gloss that over. We're SEC compliant. We take a 7% transaction fee, 30K licensing fee, saves teams, owners, and governments, multi-million, like that's it. That's one slide for this type of pitch.
Understood. No, this is really good feedback. Typically we've only got like, when we get meetings with the VC, it's like one shot at it, right? So we have a 30-minute, we go through it and they want to hear it, and then they'll say, yeah, or like, let's do a second meeting and then do a live demo of the product. So we go there. So this is really useful.
And that's fine. If you have a 30-minute meeting, I would say spend the first 5 minutes of it doing what we just said.
Yeah.
You're setting the stage, right? Then you can break it down. Okay, let me break it down further. And then you can go into a little bit more detail, but take the first 5 minutes and really set the stage. Yeah.
No, I like the word, the trailer. Yeah. I because once I recorded a 90-second pitch, so many people require you to submit a 90-second pitch. So yes.
Yeah, that's really hard, but you definitely, you have to get the big picture, the big and this is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
So
No, appreciate that. I'll create a, yes. So I do have a 1-page also. So absolutely, I can get to the 4-minute pitch because my 1-pager is exactly for that. So yes, absolutely. Yes.
Anybody else? Shabazz, anybody want to chime in, unmute and give some feedback?
Actually, I'm a big fan of cricket, and
oh, perfect.
So yeah, I live in England. So England is, this they are the founder of cricket. So to be honest, I had the same issues. So I was thinking, is it me that's not try to understand, or is because I was not clear what actually the problem is and what's actually Aditi is trying to what's the solution, and what's Aditi is making. And really, I was not understanding who's the customer. Is the fan, or Aditi is making money from the fans, or Aditi making money from the teams, or Aditi making money having like a investment in the stadium. So it was, to be honest, it's still I'm a little bit confused. What's the actual mechanism, how the investor will invest, and what's the stakes for him, and what's the actual solution, and what's the outcomes.
Okay. I'd love to talk and clarify that, since you're a cricket fan.
Cricket fan, yeah. Shabazz, would you be, let's say that this existed for your team, would this be something that you would spend your disposable income on?
To be honest,
to be honest.
To be honest,
please be honest.
Because I didn't get really the whole picture. What's in for us in that idea? So I tried to figure out. So, for example, if English cricket, or like any of like our county cricket, we have like local stadiums and different playgrounds where the different counties play together. So they are managed by the council. Each county has a council, so they manage by them. So what we are offering to the team, and who will be, for example, I have to invest in my county team. So what's the benefit for myself? Because usually the paid tickets are for like big events, but are you also consider like a local county cricket as well? Because usually
no, we're looking for paid events only, right? Because that's where the stadiums and ballparks get renovations. So it's all for paid. It's not for like local leagues. Like we have lots of people in America also playing local leagues. So while we have an MLS, the Major League Soccer, it's different. Even the smaller leagues are interested. So it kind of feeds off the concept of season tickets.
Yeah, but I think Aditi, every cricket board have their own. They are independent financially, so they generate
so we work
their
with
own.
every team.
Yeah,
Absolutely
they
right.
generate
Yeah.
their own revenue. Then there's the International Cricket Council,
Yep.
they have their own budgets and they have their
Yep.
own
Yep.
funding. Different governments and different events generate revenue. So I was trying to figure out how this thing is burdenizing the government part or like public institutions.
Right.
Because
Well, you were talking about cricket in the US, right?
No, we're actually engaged
Oh,
with.
okay.
it's a global thing.
Okay.
Like cricket is everywhere, is the same.
So
Got it.
MLC
Okay.
is a US cricket team, the case study that I had, but we are engaged with Bristol Rovers and others, whether it's cricket or soccer. There is
Got it.
3 players in the equation. There is the government, there is the private corporation, and then there is the fan. And then, we've actually modeled it. There is 9 possible outcomes and ownerships if you actually go into the details of it. And what is in it for each party? And how do we get creative? How do we meet sustainability? In America, for example, there's 140 ballparks that are abandoned. That's against ESG goals. But that it's abandoned because nobody renovated it. Nobody put the money in it, be it the government, the private corporation. The team walked away because they can't charge for tickets anymore. Nobody wants to sit in a bad environment and pay a hefty price for the ticket. Operational
Well, that's
revenues.
an important thing. That's a good important, that's part of the problem, like as Krista and Miranda were saying, like what is the current
Yeah.
problem? That's certainly part of it, is these old abandoned stadiums.
Yeah.
Any other feedback for Aditi? Anybody want to unmute and chime in?
I have a question because honestly, it was difficult for me to understand specifically what it is about. I think I understand better. To me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aditi, it's a platform play. It's technology platform that allows to simplify ability of people to invest money in sport real estate.
You're right. So my elevator 2 lines, or my elevator pitch, is we are creating the world's leading marketplace for sports assets.
When
That's
you
sort of
say assets, I think for me at least, when you say assets, it's confusing. Basically, you're realistically talking about real estate. You're not talking about sport, because sport assets, listen, anything team sells is a sport asset. IP rights to or trademarks are sport assets.
right. So
we're not talking about that, correct?
So while we started with a focus, so therefore the slide says a pioneering asset class of fractional ownership in stadiums. So while we started with real estate, some of our projects have fractionalization of teams, which is common more in Europe and not so much preferred in America. So we also have teams. So we don't stop at the idea, because the same platform can be utilized for fractionalizing a team, because all the rules and regulations remain the same, other than you have to follow the team rules and regulations, which is another level of detail. But yeah, so the platform supports both, but our provisional IP and idea is fractionalization of sports infrastructure, ballparks, arenas, and stadiums. Yeah.
Got it. And to me, it's more technology play. And I don't know, you may have technology investors who people are interested really from a technology platform. And from that point of view, let's say, and I am on technology side, I will definitely ask you a question. What is the difference between your platform and other marketplace platforms that can be adapted to your needs? How fast they can adapt? What's your does it keeps them away from adopting your basically approach? And from like real estate, I cannot say anything. I know nothing about that industry. And but to me, it's a little bit sort of unclear when you say that. It was unclear to me specific benefits that you bring to the market players. I don't know, like what specific benefits to the government. I understand they're going to renovate the stuff, but at least like when you start talking about there are a lot of ballparks waiting for renovation. Okay, I understand they need to raise money to do that. Again, it wasn't clearly in my mind highlighted in your presentation. And again, I know nothing about cricket. I don't know much about different sports. I do know UK soccer.
That's great.
And if I will be you, I will not put Bristol Rovers as an example. The teams that loses money multiple years in a row, they are struggling to get things.
I know, which is why they make the right client. And the reason they're struggling is they have an improved fan engagement. And yes, they are there from 1800s. And they have a pretty large, they're a family name, and they have a pretty large, I hear you, but that's exactly why
Why
Konstantin.
they're,
But
yeah,
and I realize probably why you do that. But in my mind, it will be good to highlight that they basically that there are a lot of sport team stadiums like real estate assets that today really need investment and have a huge potential because of their history, rather than just to give it an example. And if people know what it is, they will say, "Why I would invest in anything that's losing money?"
right. No, it's a good
Which
point.
is
It's a
still
good point.
still a question: how you can guarantee that after your investment they suddenly start making?
Right.
Right,
It's a good
right,
point.
right, right. No,
Good
good
nuanced
feedback
point.
because of, yeah.
Thank you, Constantine. Great feedback. Any other final thoughts for Aditi? Aditi, this is really fun. And so something that we don't typically see and interesting to dig into for sure.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate the feedback. Yeah. No.
Well, keep coming back too. Keep us posted. Any final comments for Aditi before we'll give everybody 15, 20 minutes back in their day? All right. Well, a huge thank you to Aditi. I love what you're doing. I think it's super exciting and bold and innovative, and no doubt that you will be successful. Come back if you want, refine. You know, we do have entrepreneurs that come back multiple times. We love to see it. Thank you all for joining today. Huge thank you to Krista from Deloitte and Miranda from SeedSpot for being our partners in Next Raise and Pitchmasters. I can put if everybody wants to sign up to participate, we do have open spots in 2024. We do it monthly. Typically, it's the third Wednesday of every month. This month, we had to push it. But thank you all for joining, and we look forward to seeing you at next month's Pitchmasters, as well as other next events. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all for the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.